Please be advised that everything in my video is purely for entertainment purposes. These are purely my thoughts and opinions and are subjective. I must advise you to please do your own research. All media users found on the public domain and are fair use and fair dealings.
Well, good morning everyone. Today is the 27th of March and last night we had some really wonderful heartwarming spirit, UK spirit finally, that cheered many a person. At 8 p.m. UK local time we had Clap for Carers and yeah, it was absolutely amazing. I stuck my head out in my garden and you could hear, I mean I clapped as well, but you could hear people clapping. My friend sent me some footage. She's like several sort of like, well, she's the other side of town for me. We had social media flooded with people. It didn't matter where they were in the country, people in their pajamas out on the streets, people hanging out of apartment blocks in London, and it was the first time that something so uniting that I've seen that has cheered many a people. And for all of those care workers and people that are still having to work, for any of them that weren't actually on shift and I heard that must have really given them a boost, and I just thought it was absolutely lovely. So we had beautiful footage as well from our lovely royal family. We had Charles and Camilla clapping. Obviously they're in separate wings of the house at the moment because Charles and Camilla are in their own little isolation sort of areas. And then we had Sophie and Edward with their children, Lady Louise and Viscount James, and yeah, I thought that was lovely addition to see them because obviously Sophie's been unwell herself. Then to finish off the grand finale, we had the Cambridge children and they're absolutely adorable. Look how big Prince Louis is. He reassuringly looks to his brother and sister here and I just think he's so cute. And it's finished off with a little giggle from Charlotte. I thought that was really lovely of Catherine and William to do that. I like how they share their children with us, really. I think it's just cute. We're watching them grow up and it's just, I don't know, it's sweet and they're really cute kids. So Sussex Royal did do their own, and compared to everyone else it was pretty lacklustre. It was just a black screen with lots of clapping emojis. I felt it was a really poor effort, but they surprisingly put, you know, clap for our carers, and I thought, well, you're not actually in the UK anymore, but you know, I guess anything to stay on the bandwagon. Funnily enough, as soon as we have the Cambridge children dominating the headlines of them clapping and a clap for carers, isn't it funny how the story magically drops that Harry and Meghan are no longer in Canada and they're actually living in LA? I don't think that came as a massive shock to many people. Thankfully, what normally happens, no matter what is in the headlines, Harry and Meghan will drop a story and it goes right to the top. If you're online media, it will take over everything. I've had news alerts from these two and the newspapers the next day, Harry and Meghan, Harry and Meghan. Well, as you can see here from an array of British newspapers today, they didn't even get one single mention. Not a tiny window, not a tiny box, nothing. It was all about what's happening in the country, the Cambridge children, and the great morale boosting Clap for Carers that went on last night. And I think that really shows that they're really not that important anymore. They're kind of like going further and down into obscurity. Now, with saying that, the move to LA, as I said, has come as no shock to anyone. When I first started doing my videos last year, I believe one of the first two videos that I did, which was reasons why I didn't like Meghan Markle, it wasn't a hate video for those of you that haven't seen it, but it was just my personal thoughts on why I've had red flags ever since that woman's come on the scene. So I did predict in one of my earlier videos that now that they got married with such urgency, they had the baby so quickly, that the next move would be to isolate Harry from his family and to move far away. Obviously they did that to Canada, but I did also mention the fact that I truly believe that she wants to go back to LA, to Hollywood. Now, Meghan was never a successful actress in Hollywood, despite what the media and the puff pieces from her PR firm do try to tell us. She had a couple of tiny walk-on, walk-off parts in a couple of big films. She did some oh god, what's it called, it's these like Lifetime films, and it was pretty bad. It's the whole, what's it called, Hallmark, just cringe fest. And so her career never really took off. Obviously when she landed the role in Suits, but that was all filmed in Canada. So you would have thought that she'd want to go back to that clique, that set, but she doesn't. She has obviously got her sights set on stardom because she spent her whole life desperately trying to make it in Hollywood. And despite growing up on film sets and her dad being an award-winning lighting director, it never quite panned out for Meghan. I don't mean to be catty, but I don't think that she's beautiful enough. She is pretty enough. I don't care what people say. I mean, she's got a personality that sucks, but she is pretty enough. But her acting skills very limited. I have watched some bits of Suits and I can't. Ever since Megxit was announced, Meghan and Harry have insisted that they don't want to trade off the royal name, that they want to take Archie away from the UK. They were going to live in a Commonwealth country because their Commonwealth roles mean so much to them. The fans were desperately attacking anyone that dared criticise them, saying that's what they want. They want a private life. I mean, look at the island that they were staying on and that beautiful mansion in the middle of nowhere. Okay, it wasn't theirs, but they were saying how they were loving the fact that they had no harassment out there. The locals were treating them as one of their own. They had absolute privacy. They could hide away. They could go for hikes in the mountains. Archie was loving it. And it was all of this crap that was coming out to talk about and to sell the story of the fact they just wanted to get away from the fishbowl, the media, the constant newspapers reporting on them, and it all turns out to be absolute BS, doesn't it? I think the fact that Canada didn't treat them as superstars and kicked off, and the taxpayers basically did a massive revolt saying we're not paying for their security, that pretty much probably finished off Meghan. She expects everyone to treat her like a star wherever she goes. You can just see by her behaviour. So obviously it didn't work out in England. It was never her intentions to stay in Canada. I cannot remember who it was that I read that said this, but it was a guy that said what Harry and Meghan done is like when he's gay, and he said that when I came out to my parents when I was younger, I told them that I was bisexual to kind of break it to them slowly. And I feel this is what Harry and Meghan have done to the royal family. They've done it to dupe the public. They've done it to trick the Queen so they could hang on to their Commonwealth titles for as long as possible. How are they meant to be president and vice president of the Queen's Commonwealth Trust whilst they're living it up in LA? All of the stories about the reason why they couldn't bring Archie with them because of what's happening in the world at the moment, because of his safety. Yet here they are packing him up on a plane and taking him to one of the worst infected areas. What about all of the British security team that have got to go with them? So now they're holed up in LA while Meghan is seeking out more Hollywood work. And it just goes to show that everything that they said about how they didn't want to trade off the royal names, how they didn't want to, you know, Meghan has no intentions of returning to her acting career. Well, there wasn't much of a career there. Harry didn't want that sort of lifestyle for Archie growing up where he's under a fishbowl. At least they had protection when they lived with the royal family. Archie would have grown up with his cousins. He was the perfect age to grow up with Prince Louis, with Charlotte, with George. They would have grown up and they would have really had that protection of each other, just like Harry always had his brother to fall back on, but there was more of them. They would have had, the media would have had strict rules, what they can and can't take photographs of the children. Archie would have definitely been a lot more protected than what he's going to do to his son now. And then again, that just shows that did they really care about Archie's upbringing? Everything that they've said has been a lie. They didn't want to stay in a Commonwealth country. They're using the titles. They're still using the titles. That's why Meghan and Harry kicked up such a stink. They wanted to be royals living in Hollywood. I don't understand how so many people can still defend them. Plus, Harry better really watch his back now, because I believe that Meghan has actually set into place by getting him in California the final stages of her plan. Whether it's 6 months, whether it's 6 years, highly doubtful, Harry is about to lose his usefulness. One, he's not an American citizen. I don't know how true this is, but those of you that are a bit more well-read than me with royal titles, I'm pretty sure for Harry to become a US citizen, he has to denounce his titles. With Meghan, I believe because she's already a US citizen, she could probably keep hers. So we could potentially end up in the future of Meghan still being called the Duchess of Sussex and Harry just being known as Harry Mountbatten Windsor. It's another thing he's going to end up giving up for the love of his life. What could possibly go wrong with this? People have said that Harry refused to have a prenup because, you know, he loved Meghan so much, and I just really can see this coming to bite him in the bottom. As I said before, I don't wish divorce on anyone, but I think this is the best thing for Harry in the future. But then he's shown himself to be just as shallow as her. He's been lying to everyone as well. All of the stories that they said about how it was his idea to move to Canada because he wanted to protect Archie, well, it turns out That wasn't true. All of the stories about how they wanted to stay in a Commonwealth country wasn't true. Everything they have said has always been a lie, and it's always been a lie to set themselves back up in Hollywood. Harry has nothing to sell to Hollywood. Meghan is the one that did have an acting career. If anyone thinks this is all Harry's idea and Meghan's had no input in this, then you're just absolutely deluded. People always say, oh, you don't want to be one of those people that said, I told you so. But many, many, many people have told Harry, I told you so. And yeah, I can see this is going to be the wind up of their marriage. The fact that he was forbidden to come back to see his family. He was forbidden for taking Archie to see his family. Harry certainly is having a lot of things forbidden for him. How long will this last? Is Harry going to continue to put up with it? Or will his ego eventually fight back? We know that Charles didn't like Diana's popularity, and that was also one of the reasons why the marriage did begin to wind up a lot quicker than what people had expected. I do think Harry is like his father Charles in this sense, and Harry, the reason why he's probably been so angry and stuff over the past year or so is because he's watched his entire life changed. He's watched his popularity nosedive into oblivion. And whilst he is with Meghan and he stays with Meghan, I can see it only getting worse. So tell me what you think. I'll be back with you with another video because I want to talk about Disney. So I'll be back really soon. Bye for now.
If you like my video, please remember to like and subscribe. Please, angry typists, you will be blocked, so save your fingers the time. If you would like to buy me a coffee, please go to my About page and click the link. Love, Taz.